It's Alejandro, and I'm doing a deck profile as a continuation to the box opening I did before. This is my deck profile over the Chaos. It's my personal deck. Now, quickly going over the main cards. So the flag card I use is the Chaos. Lets you use Chaos cards from, well, any world. Your initial life becomes 10, 2 gauge, and 4 hand cards. You can use monsters of size 99, size 30 and greater cannot be destroyed or returned to the hand. And the buddy I'm using is Proto-Deleter version, Gear God version 88. It has 60,000 power, 6k defense, and critical of 3. Put any number of monsters from the field into the soul and pay 3 gauge. When it enters the field, you can call a size 3 or less monster from the drop zone without paying the call cost, and it's got overkill. Discard a card from your hand at the beginning of your attack phase. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's field and gain life equal to the number of cards destroyed. Soul Guard and Chaos Territory. And last but not least, because of the box opening, I'm also using Infinity the Chaos. It's a flag card that can attack with 10,000 power and defense and critical of 3. Before the game, put up to 1 Infinity the Chaos face down under the Chaos. Lets you use Chaos cards from all the worlds, all size 30 and greater, yada yada, same thing. The only main key difference is it lets you use Chaos cards up to a total size of Infinity. And it's treated as a card on the field. It can attack even if you have a monster in the center. So basically when you start the game, you put this face down underneath the Chaos like this. So yeah, that's the buddy and the flags. Now moving on to the monsters, I play 4 copies of the buddy, Gear God 88. Already went over that. Then I play 2 copies of Gear God version 99. I have 2 different copies, the SP rare, which is probably the rarest one I got in my collection right now, next to the Infinity the Chaos, and a secret rare. Pulled these both from the same box in Rainbow Striker. Wish I recorded that, but I didn't. Anyways, a size 90, 70,000 power, 7k defense, and 3 critical. It's easily better than 88. I would recommend playing that over this if you have enough copies. Call costs 3 gauge and has Chaos Drain. If this card leaves the field, you can destroy a size 3 or less, and it stays on the field. And it also has Overkill. Discard a card from your hand during your opponent's turn. Call up to 3 size 3 monsters from your drop zone without paying their call cost. Then if your opponent attacks 6 or more times during the turn, force their turn to end. Once again, Chaos Territory and Penetrate. Then I played just 1 copy of Ultimate Chaos Gear God Complete, size 10,000. So the only way you're going to be able to play this card is with Infinity the Chaos. Has 100,000 power, 10,000 defense, and a critical of 4, so really beefy stats. Call cost, put a monster with Gear God and its card name from your field into the drop zone. So essentially no gauge, just sacrifice a Gear God. Chaos Drain, already went over what that does. And it's got Overkill Reboot, which is different from Overkill. Discard a card from your hand during your main phase. Call it to 3 monsters from your drop zone without paying their call cost. Same as the regular. But here's where the reboot comes in. Then if your life is 3 or less, your life becomes 10. And it can only be used once per turn, cannot be countered, and also has Chaos Territory. So really beefy, helps increase your life. And because I'm running a total of 8 Gear Gods, I played just 1 copy of a size 30 Gear God, the manufactured Gear God, the 7th. 50,000 power, 5k defense, and critical of 2. Put up to 2 or more monsters from your field into this card's soul, up to 2 monsters, and pay 2 gauge. Enters the field, calls Chaos Monster from your drop zone by paying its call cost, has Soul Guard and Chaos Territory. Now moving on to the non-Gear God monsters. I run 2 copies of Sentry of Auto Deity Chaos Draw Golem, 8k attack, 5k defense, and critical of 3. It's 1 gauge to call, and when it attacks, for the turn, a card on your field gets plus 5k attack and critical plus 2. And it also has Penetrate, so if you use this ability on the card itself, it can swing for 5 damage, which is really aggressive. So a really strong beat, heavy hitter card. Next, 2 Chaos Zodiac, 7k attack, 5k defense, and 2 critical. Pay 1 gauge, when it enters the field, put up to 1 card from your drop zone to this card's soul. Your opponent's monster in front of this card cannot stand by card effects. And Gravity Rest. When a monster in your opponent's field, when a monster enters your opponent's field, you may pay a gauge and discard a card from your hand. If you do, stand that monster. Also has Soul Guard. So yeah, really good for forcing annoying monsters to stand. Classic Zodiac stuff. I think. Next, for another heavy beat stick, we got Chaos Gilquin at 2 copies, 10k attack, 5k defense, and 2 critical. Pay 1 gauge, and this is a good combo card for its ability. When it enters the field by card effects, you gain a life and draw a card. Also has Penetrate for more poking at the opponent. And something opposite of Penetrate, we run 2 copies of Chaos Calvados. 7k defense, 6k attack, 7k attack, 6k defense, and critical of 2. Put the top card of your deck into this card's soul and pay a gauge. When a monster in your center is attacked for this turn, nullify the penetrate of the attacking card, and it has Soul Guard. So yeah, this is really good for blocking penetrate, which is one of the big weaknesses in Chaos, so it's a really good defense card for that. Next, something more offensive, we got 2 copies of Chaos Death Gaze. Has only 1k defense and only 1 critical, but a solid 9k attack. Spectral Strike ability. When a monster on your center attacks and destroys an opponent's monster, deal 2 damage to your opponent. When attacking a monster on your center is nullified, put a card from your opponent's gauge into the drop zone. So Spectral Strike is really good. You can use it up to twice per turn or more, since you can have up to 2 monsters in the center. You can see good combos with that card. So it's really strong despite the low critical. Next, one of the important cards in the deck, play 2 copies of Chaos Strategia. 8k attack, 5k defense, and 2 critical. When this card is destroyed, choose and use one of the following 2. Call up to 1 Crew Trooper or Chaos from your hand without paying its call cost, or call 1 Crew Trooper or Chaos from the soul of a card on your field by paying its call cost. It also has Penetrate for more push. Normally, you're always going to want to play the first ability, free hand card. You can play a first turn, call it, then bring Gear God for free. Then 2 copies of Chaos Gestera. 9k attack, 9k defense, and 2 critical. Pay 2 gauge. Give all monsters in the center plus 10k attack and defense, and it has Penetrate. No wait, and gives them Penetrate. So yeah, really good for extra push. Best combo to play this in Gear God in the center, so this card would have 10k attack and defense. Good for boosting stats. Then one of the important gauge monsters, we play 2 copies of Chaos Breast Corona. 6k attack, 5k defense, 2 critical. When this card attacks, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and gain a life. Then if your opponent has no monsters on the center, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So you can potentially get to 2 gauge with this card, but the 1 gauge minimum is all you really need. Then 2 copies of Chaos Sagetsu. 6k attack, 4k defense, and 2 critical. When it enters the field, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. So lets you charge and draw by discarding a card. Now, discarding a card is good because it helps fuel up the drop zone, which is important for meeting the conditions to play the flag card, the upgraded flag card. Then 2 Chaos Orzer Kleins. 5k attack, 6k defense, and 2 critical. Great ability. Heavy Quarry 8. When this card enters the field, you may put 2 monsters in a spell from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you do, put the top card of your deck into your gauge, gain a life, and draw a card. Only activates once per turn. So you get lots of pluses off this card. Helps recycle some cards and gives you pretty much one of everything. Now for the last 2 monsters, I play only 1 copy of each. 1 Chaos Zoruaga. It has 6k attack, 5k defense, and only critical of 1. Its stats by itself aren't that important. What this card's really good for is what it does for other cards. It has 2 gauge for its cost. When a monster in your center attacks, if this card is in your left or right, for that turn that monster gets double attack. Since you have 2 monsters in the center and this card, you can guarantee a minimum of 5 attacks, which is really good for boosting and pushing for game. Next, a tech card I like to play is 1 Inverse Second Omni Demon Lord Dephos Smodai. It's a size 3 with 10k attack, 10k defense, and critical of 3. It's not a Chaos, but it's an Omni Lord, so you can play this with all flags at just 1 copy. So I play this because it's really good. Pay 2 gauge for the cost. When this card is destroyed, put the top 3 cards of your deck into your drop zone. Call up 3 monsters from among them on separate areas without paying the call cost. Penetrate and Lifelink 2. Helps push for game. Good defensive card for the center, and the free cost is really good. That's it for monsters. Now into spells. I played 2 copies of the Chaos Upgrade. This card is what you need for Infinity of the Chaos. You only cast this if your initial flag was the Chaos. If you have 10 or more cards in your drop zone, put up to 1 face-down card from under your flag on top of your flag. And put up to 1 Gear God and its card name from your deck into your hand. Shuffle your deck, only once per turn. So yeah, the condition isn't too hard to meet. You have some cards in the deck to help fill up the drop zone fairly easily. You can potentially even do it during first turn with the right combo. And yeah, most of the time you're going to want to call either Gear God 99 or Gear God Completes with the search effect. Next, I play 4 copies of 1 Who Comes from Havoc. Only use it if you have 2 or more Chaos on the field. Pay 1 gauge, draw 2 cards, once per turn. Really good draw engine of the deck. I recommend it at 4, because you can never have too much draw power, which is really good, especially in Chaos, since you only start with 4 cards. Now into some of the defense cards. I play 2 copies of Chaos Wall Healing Barrier. You only cast this during an attack on your opponent's turn if you have a Chaos on the field. Nullify the attack, then if you have 3 or more monsters on the field, gain a life. It's a good card for its defense abilities. The gain a life is kind of optional, although it wouldn't be too hard to gain, since 3 monsters at once isn't too hard with this deck. But you mainly play it just for the defense. Next, another really good card that you want to play in this deck, Population Reduction. I would recommend playing this card at more if you can. Cast cost, put a size 3 gray monster from your drop zone, field into the drop zone, and pay a life. Counter, draw 2 cards. So the best way you would want to play this card is if it's your opponent's turn and they're about to destroy a monster and you know you're going to lose it anyway. So use this card, get rid of the monster for them, waste their attack, and get some draw off of it. Next, one of the cards that helps with Chaos Upgrade, as well as a good gauge card, is 2 copies of Chaotic Pain. Pay a life, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the drop zone, helps field the drop zone cost, and you can instantly get 3 gauge, really good card. Then one of my favorites in the deck, 2 copies of Electron Disorder. Gain a life, and put the number of cards from the top of your deck into your gauge equal to the number of monsters on your field. So you can easily get up to a maximum of 4 gauge with this spell, minimum of 3 at most cases, and the +1 life is also a nice bonus. Next spell, well, the last spell, 2 more shield cards, where play 2 Force Summoning Shelsana. Immediately cast a starting attack on your opponent's turn, nullify the attack if it is not a link attack. So it's a pretty vanilla-ish kind of negate attack, but it works. And I think it's good, so I run it at 2 copies for extra shielding. And that's it for spells. Now moving on to the items, I only play 4 items in total. 2 copies of Watchsword of Auto Deity, Chaos Levitine. It has 10k attack and 2 critical. The equip cost of this card is reduced by the number of cards on your field. Its equip cost is 4 gauge. This card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects and can attack even if you have any monster in your center. So you basically use this as an extra beat stick for more pushing and attacking. As another attack unit, and since the Infinity of the Chaos counts as a card on the field, it would also factor into its gauge reduction. So yeah, you can normally play this card at like 1 gauge or even for free if you play your cards right. And last but not least, an important gauge and defensive card. I play 2 copies of Chaos Absorber. 2k attack and 1 critical. The stats are irrelevant really. It pays 1 gauge, so you may stand this card if you do put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So it kind of acts like a rune staff. And the added ability is put this card from the field into the drop zone. If you do, nullify the penetrate of all cards on your opponent's field. So it's like a last-ditch effort, like if you're against dual golems, for example, you can just ditch this card and save yourself from penetrate, since that is one of the big weaknesses of the Chaos deck in general. So yeah, that's been my Chaos deck. I really hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, so this card uses some of the most recent Chaos cards, so it's pretty updated and whatnot. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, thank you for watching. Check out my box opening where I pulled some awesome cards like Infinity of the Chaos if you haven't seen that already. So yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more content. I'll have more videos. I'll probably try to do more deck profiles, and yeah, really hope you guys enjoy this. This is my personal deck profile for Over the Chaos. I think it's a good deck, and yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.